I would now like to hand you over to Mr. Providence, but before I do so, I'll just like to give everyone a little bit of information about Mr. Providence. Mr. Colin Providence is the Senior Business Incubation Officer at NEDCO. He is a certified financial planner and investment advisor. He has over 25 years' experience in the banking and microfinance sector. Mr. Providence holds a BSc degree in management and law and is also a small business owner. And Mr. Providence will be presenting on support services to promote SMEs, financing, and training. So I'll just hand it over to Mr. Providence.
I'm on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm just give me a second to try to share my screen and then I will begin. All right. So again, thank you so much for having me. And I was listening in on some of the presentations before, and I'm really excited and happy to hear about all the different support services that are geared towards entrepreneurship and the small business sector as a whole. So this augurs well and feeds right into what NEDCO is targeted to do as we support, sustain, and help small enterprises succeed. All right, so I'm going to jump straight in and just give you some quick information and some brief info on NEDCO and what we're about. So NEDCO stands for the National Entrepreneurship Development Company Limited for persons who are not familiar. And we are a limited liability company, a special purpose company that was set up by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Our mandate is to support the MSME sector by providing a series of services. So we do loans or lending services, business advisory, and training development. So that is the core mandate and our core activities. But of course, we do much more than what you would see here. All right, so there's just a snapshot of what we are about, right? So I'll talk about some of these services as we move forward. So as a basic reminder, for persons who are either looking to start a business or who are already involved in business and thinking about what are some of the key areas I would need to focus on to be profitable and to become sustainable. And remember, both things are not necessarily interchangeable, because while you need profits to move on, your first venture, your first aim is to be sustainable, meaning that you want to at least be able to cover your costs and you want to essentially break even. And then the next push is to become profitable, where it makes sense to continue in business. So here we talk about effective leadership, and leadership talks about persons who are starting a business. You have to be motivated. You have to be self-motivating, right? Nobody is going to force you or demand that you get up at a particular time, or that you stay up at a particular time, or that you take vacation or not take vacation. It's all about the self. It's all about your strength and motivation to pursue your business and to pursue your goals. So there must be effective leadership. You need to lead from in front. If you have staff, you have to be able to motivate them. And that starts with you and your work ethic. Next, you must have some management know-how or specific expertise. And again, it sounds simplistic and, it's like, duh, of course, that's what I should have. But too often at NEDCO, what we see are persons who, they scan the environment, and so they're interested in small business as a concept. And then they scan the environment and they look for ideas that they think will make money. So they aren't so much interested in that instant about whether or not I have the actual technical skills or know-how in that particular area, but they're looking at opportunities where there may be or exist large profits, or you see a lot of other people venturing down that road, and you think, well, okay, my partner is making money in that area, so I think I should also get into that. So it's something that we advise would-be entrepreneurs, and even sometimes people who are already in business. Please think about what are your specific know-how, what is your expertise, what are you qualified for and in, and is this particular area that you're actually existing in or looking to venture into, is it an area where you have competencies? There must be a ready market for your products and services. Again, these are very simple reminders, and that's why, we're saying these are reminders. These are things that we kind of already know, but it's always good to hear it again. The whole art of getting into business is to eventually make a profit. If there's no market for your product or service, then there's very little sense of trying to start that business in that particular area where there's no ready market. Of course, it means doing your market research, doing your feasibility studies. Sometimes a market isn't always apparent, and you have to sort of pull it out of the market or out of the environment. So I'm not saying that you have to literally see, hey, there's a market there and people are asking for this product or service, because oftentimes people may come up with new inventions or innovations to products and services. But what we're saying is that you must do some sort of market testing, feasibility studies to determine if there's going to be demand for what you're proposing to sell. Next, there must be efficient and effective business operations, right? There must be particular systems put in place. And again, this harks back to the leadership at the top. One of the reasons the leadership is at the top, because everything else falls under the leadership. If you've not set up proper systems, it doesn't matter how well or how much demand there is for your product or service. It doesn't matter how much particular expertise you may have in the field. If you aren't running a tight ship, then all will fall down, right? The business cannot run itself, and you need to ensure that the systems, there are checks and balances, you have the right persons in the right place doing the right things at the right time. You must be able to hire a workforce when you do hire staff that is trainable and reliable, right? And again, it goes back to your leadership, because if you don't know who you're looking for, what the task is in front of you, then you're going to make that mistake of maybe hiring sometimes family or friends who, they may be in need of a job and you have an opportunity to provide them with that job, but they don't have the right skill set or the mentality to perform the task. So this is something that happens often with small business owners, where they put persons, because of familial ties, into particular positions and they don't work out. And it takes away from the efficiency and effectiveness of your business, because you may then have to not only go through the hard task of letting go that person, but it means during the time that they were there, your business was not running optimally. Next, equipment and facilities. Another no-brainer. You must have your equipment, the necessary equipment. You must be operating out of adequate facilities. And I think that's straightforward. And lastly, not necessarily least, is money or the access to capital. And of course, there are many different ways people can go about attaining this. You may have your own personal resources. You may be able to get investment from family and friends and well-wishers, as well as there are other avenues, including loan funding, angel funding, and that type of investment into the business, right? So there are different avenues to which persons can rely on to raise the necessary money to go into business. So this isn't all here. These are just 7 of the key areas that we feel are important for the entrepreneur to pay attention to when they're either thinking about going in business, or even if they're in business currently. These are always areas that they should look over and just sort of use as a guide. Am I effective leader? Do I have the management know-how and skills in this particular area? Is there a market for my product and service? Do I need to, go over, because we're in an ever-changing environment, and what was in demand, for example, pre-COVID, may no longer be in demand in our current environment. So do I need to pivot? So these are things that constantly, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, we need to keep revisiting, because the job is never done. These are not set in stone, and they're ever changing and ever revolving and evolving, I should say. So let's talk about financing specifically at NEDCO. So what you see here was just a typical ad that we would have run during our Christmas season, but suffice it to say, NEDCO has a series of loan packages, and we would tailor them to suit the need of the entrepreneur at various times. But in general, we have an interest rate of 8% per annum, and our loan term can run to a maximum of 60 months. Of course, loans are going to be qualified based on the actual request and the purpose. So depending on the amount you're asking for and the purpose for that loan. Collateral, it's a minimum of 50% based on NEDCO's lending criteria. However, we do make concessions based on individual circumstance. So these are just guides. And for first-time borrowers, you would have seen on the first slide, first-time borrowers can access a maximum of $250,000 presently. And persons who are repeat borrowers may access up to $500,000. Right? These are maximums that have been set, and it was set by central government, so we are not able to go beyond those thresholds. And again, these are things that can be reviewed and changes can be made in the future. But as we stand today, these are the amounts that we work with, right? We also have our entrepreneurial development packages, which I'll speak about as we go forward, which is really a blended service or a blended feature of our different services. So we incorporate loan funding with business advisory and training. Let's go over some of our basic loan requirements. You need 2 forms of ID. We ask for passport size photos, proof of address, business registration certificates, as the case may be, whether you're a sole trader, partnership, or limited liability company. You would need to supply us with your quotations or your invoices for the items to which you'd like the funding for. And for businesses that are existing already, you would need to provide us with at least 3 months bank statement, as well as historical financial statements. And these would be for businesses that are already in existence. Persons who or businesses that are just about to start, we would usually ask for a forecast of what your revenue stream would look like. So we usually ask for cash flow statements. All right, you'll also go on, you need Board of Inland Revenue certificates, lease agreement where applicable, proof of contracts, again, where applicable. And again, this is just a snapshot of some of the requirements that we would need, as specific requests would require certain documentation that is generic to that particular business area. So for example, persons who are involved in the food business would need to get the health inspection certificates, their food badges, etc., which would be very specific to that loan request, right? And it would occur differently depending on the type of business. So let's talk about the entrepreneurial development packages. So as I said before, it's a blended service where you pay one fee, and in that fee, when you pay that fee, you get exposed to a particular number of training workshops, and you also would benefit from our business advisory service. Now here listed, you would see some of our training courses. This is not all, and we're ever increasing and looking to modify the training courses that we have on offer. The entrepreneurial development packages start at $300, where you would get one training course and one business advisory session, along with any of our webinars that we offer free to the public. And we go all the way up to the ultimate package, which at that package, you'd get 4 entrepreneurial training workshops and 3 business advisory sessions, right? Those business advisory sessions are very important because what it does, it gives the entrepreneur, the would-be entrepreneur, opportunity to speak about their business idea, speak about where they are, conceptualize where they would like to be. And oftentimes you would speak to one business advisor, but sometimes you may be lucky to have 2 advisors on that particular call who would go through in detail and give you much needed advice and direction in terms of what your next strategy should be as you develop or look to improve your business operations. So these sessions are invaluable. The sessions usually last 1 hour, and by itself, it comes at a cost of $100. But as part of the entrepreneurial development package, it works out way better when you see the value for money. seeing that each training course itself is valued at $300 currently, because we're now doing it online because of COVID. We've reduced the cost to the public. So all of our training and business advisory is conducted online. And these training workshops typically run for about 6 hours. So they take up about most of a day. And we do try to offer them at flexible times in the various business areas. And these courses are repeated. So we give the option for persons to really mix and match, because you get to choose which training you would like. So once you sign up for the package, we would send you the schedule. You can choose during that, for what you see on the calendar, you can decide which training you would like and when. So, there's no, like you sign up for it now and these are the training that's offered for the month of April. You must choose a course in April. You can choose a course in May, you can choose a course in July, you can choose one in August. So you can spread it out to suit your work schedule and also based on your preference in terms of what you'd like to access. So we make it very accessible to the entrepreneur, because we understand and recognize their schedule and know that time isn't always on their side. So I'll just touch briefly here on the grant funding. So the micro and small enterprises have been negatively impacted by COVID-19, and this was an initiative that started after the first lockdown, can apply for MSCs that earn less than $1 million in annual revenue. They can apply for this grant, which they can access up to a tune of $20,000. They can do so by visiting www.nedcofunding.com. Right? It's an online application. You'll fill it out, submit the documentation that they ask, and you will be assessed and processed for this grant. Please note that you must have been in business prior to that first lockdown. So it doesn't apply for any businesses that would have started up during the pandemic and are having difficulty now. Those businesses will be ineligible to apply, because you must show evidence prior to the first lockdown that you were operating. All right. What's not on this particular presentation, but I'll just touch on, just for the benefit of all of our services, is our Business Accelerator program. Now, that program is a program that is a special purpose program that is really geared towards taking entrepreneurs and fast tracking them into either improving their business or starting their business by incorporating training, business advisory, mentorship, and networking sessions. The uniqueness of this program is that each candidate has to be referred to the program through a partnered institution. So in the first year, which we're currently wrapping up, we would have engaged our tertiary institutions who, having gotten the criteria, would have sent to us their candidates, their best candidates to enter this program, who they deem to be best. It can be part of their current student intake or any of their alumni. So they were allowed to submit those persons to us. We do at NEDCO an evaluation to determine where each individual is in terms of their development, and then recommend the specific training, business advisory, and mentorship that individual would need. So it's done on a very individual basis, although you're part of a cohort and you work together alongside the other colleagues who are in the program with you. But your specific evaluation would recommend a specific area or areas that you would need to cover in order to develop yourself. So it's not like a ready-made program where it's all cut and paste and everybody has to sit through the exact same thing. We are actually tailor-making it. It's tailor-made for the individual as part of the program. And the idea is really to fast-track persons who need to up their game, so to speak, and get them into performing at an optimal level, which of course would augur well for not just themselves, but for the economy as a whole, if we can get these persons faster to market and in an efficient manner as possible. So that's a snapshot of the Business Accelerator program. We're currently looking to launch our second year, which will start in July, And for that initiative, we are looking at expanding the program to include technical vocational institutions as well as other agencies, government and non-governmental agencies who would have a clientele who would fit the profile of what we're looking for to enter the program. So that's in a nutshell how NEDCO supports the ecosystem and how we continuing to develop and change. Because like I said, this is just a snapshot of what we're doing. We're doing a lot more behind the scenes. A lot of research is going into how we can assist the sector. And NEDCO has a wealth of information and knowledge that we ourselves still trying to pull together, which will inform not just ourselves, but inform the larger community as to how we can better serve the sector and really make recommendations as to how we can move this whole idea of entrepreneurship as something sustainable, something that persons can use to succeed forward. All right, so finally, on this last screen here, you all would see our current branches and their locations. So you can also contact us at the telephone number and at the email address. And we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at NEDCO_TT. So I thank you for your time and patience.